How does New York City compare to living in a beach town such as Sarasota, Florida? This discussion will provide you with some fundamental differences of big city versus beach town living. So let's get right into this video. Things to do. I live in Florida now and I'm happy here, but I'm also a former New Yorker and I actually enjoy living in New York City. Just recently, I spent over a week in Manhattan with family and friends and essentially acted as a tour guide showing my people the ins and outs of the city. And while I was there, I had a lot of time to reflect upon life in New York City and Sarasota and compare living standards. Manhattan has many choices of pretty much anything you can imagine, from museums, restaurants, bars, clubs, theater, and really so much more. This is one of the major allures of wanting to reside in a big city, right? You can live a lifetime in one day and then experience a completely new lifetime the next day. Having all these choices can also feel a bit overwhelming. So for some, having less to choose from can actually simplify life. Sarasota offers almost all the great amenities big city living does, just in a much smaller scale. For example, Sarasota is known as the culture mecca on the west coast of Florida, with a great arts and theater presence. There are different culture venues to go to, including the Van Wezel, which is Sarasota's largest performing arts theater. Then there's the Asolo, Florida Studio Theater, and the Urbanite for a more intimate theater experience. So it is relatively easy to get immersed into culture experiences in Sarasota, except it won't feel as extreme as the options available in Manhattan. Now, let's talk about restaurants, because I think that's important. We all like to go out and eat, or most of us do. As you can imagine, with all the restaurant choices in Manhattan, in New York City in general, New York City being all the 5 boroughs, including the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island, you will find some of the best dining experience. Just to give you an idea of how many restaurants there are in New York City, based on data from Statista, there are over 27,000 restaurants to choose from. Now, in comparison, according to Mastu.com, there are over 800 restaurants in Sarasota County, which includes restaurants located in Venice and Northport. And that's just about 3% of the choices you have in New York City. But for a small city, Sarasota has the most restaurants per capita. Sarasota is also home to chefs that have had experiences in such places as New York City, Italy, France, and other parts of the world. These chefs have moved here to live, work, and play here, and that is really fortunate for us because they've brought their knowledge and they're cooking up top-notch food options for us to enjoy today. Density. In size, Sarasota is roughly as big as Manhattan, about 24 square miles. It's actually hard to believe, but it's true. But Manhattan is the most densely populated areas in the world, with a population of over 1.6 million people, according to 2020 U.S. Census data. Now, in contrast, Sarasota County has about 447,000 citizens, according to the 2020 U.S. Census, and the number of people residing in just Sarasota will be far less. I think it's fair enough to say that living in Manhattan will offer more opportunities to meet new, like-minded, or diverse people. If diversity is important to you, wherever you move to, just understand what the population mixture is like, right? Because you want to make sure that you feel comfortable wherever you're moving to. Now, everywhere we walked in the city, we were amongst a crowd. Not once were we ever alone in an area. One of my family members actually noted, "I can't believe how you can't escape people here. Everywhere we walk, there's people all around us." And that's true. For her, it was a shock, but being surrounded by people, for some of you, might be exciting, especially if you're young and dating. You have plenty of options, so to speak. But in a big city, it's also easier to feel like a small fish in a pond and feel like you're anonymous. Some folks may actually prefer a smaller community where it's much likely you will know your neighbors or get to know your neighbors. And with that comes a sense of security. Sarasota, even though it's fast evolving and growing, still has kind of that small town feel with a sense of community, where it is easy or relatively easy to get to know your neighbors and even bump into people you know at the grocery store or a local restaurant. It happens to me all the time. Noise. Now that I have lived in Sarasota for years, I actually noticed just how loud Manhattan is and how much action there is in the city all day and night long. Bars don't close until about 4 a.m. and so people are roaming the streets into the wee hours in New York City. Some folks absolutely love this type of stimulation during the busiest time of the day. So take Midtown, for example. Noise has been measured at about an average of 85 decibels, which is above the below 70 decibels recommended from the World Health Organization. And so if you're noise sensitive, say you have tinnitus, living in a quiet place such as Sarasota might be actually more beneficial to your health. Even if you live in downtown Sarasota, it's going to feel much quieter to you because the area is less dense with much less traffic. There are no crazy taxi drivers in Sarasota, or perhaps I should say there's less of them as there are in New York City, and bars actually close at 2 a.m. So it really all comes down to your lifestyle and your personal desires. I think if you're somebody in their 20s and 30s that absolutely loves a happening nightlife, maybe you like to go clubbing, you're going to be better off in places such as New York City, or if you really wanted to live in Florida, consider Miami over Sarasota. Now for you other big city dwellers, Sarasota and many other places in Florida may actually be a very welcoming change. Walkability. I almost forgot how easy it is to get over 10,000 steps in one day. Manhattan is very, very walkable. Even if you plan to get a subway, you will need to walk to and from a station, then walk to wherever your final destination is. I love that about the Big Apple. It makes you move almost without trying. So Sarasota is definitely not as walkable. Unless you live right downtown Sarasota, you're going to need a car to get to places such as shopping or the beaches. And even if you live in downtown Sarasota, the downtown area is a relatively small neighborhood, so you won't need to walk very far to get to shopping or dining. I absolutely love to walk, and I feel that this is an activity in Sarasota I need to actually plan for in order to get my steps in. Work and jobs. When it comes to starting a career, New York City is one of the best places to do that because it is full of job opportunities and networking opportunities. So approximately 220,000 businesses are in New York City, covering all major industries, including finance, technologies, media, fashion, healthcare, and hospitality. And some of the biggest companies in the world are headquartered right in New York City, including Pfizer, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Verizon Communications, just to name a few. Working in New York City holds a certain prestige. And the saying, if you can make it in New York City, you can make it anywhere, really does hold some weight here. Since the pandemic, the unemployment rate has risen in New York City and was at about 7.6% as of March 2022, the worst of major cities. Some of this has to do with the fact that the entertainment industry has been slow to get back to work. But I believe that remote work is really reshaping where many job opportunities will be coming from in the future. No longer jobs based on just a specific location. Many small, medium, and large corporations are giving their employees the option to work remote. The option to work remote will depend on the line of work you do. So doctors or nurses will still need to show up in person, for example, at least they would hope they do. But remote job opportunities has provided many employees with the possibility to work from anywhere, and many of those folks are now drawn to Florida because of the many benefits I've spoken about in many of my videos. Here's one video I recommend you watch if you haven't seen it yet. Well, what is the job market like in Florida? It really will depend on the location. Let's review Sarasota specifically. Based on 2020 Census Bureau data, there were 14,480 employer establishments in Sarasota County. The unemployment rate in Sarasota County as of March 2022 was just 2.4%, and the top employers in the Sarasota area are Sarasota Memorial Healthcare, PGT Innovations, Sarasota County Schools, Helios Technologies, hopefully I said that name correctly, and Venice Regional Bayfront Health. So healthcare, education, technology, home construction, and hospitality are the major industries served in the Sarasota County region. I can tell you this, especially for essential workers, they're not able to get enough essential workers to fill all the job gaps that we currently have in the Sarasota area. Cost affordability. The cost of living in Florida is dramatically cheaper than it is in Manhattan. Let's just look at the housing costs. So per Realtor.com data, the median list price in May for New York County, which is Manhattan, was approximately $1,590,000 versus $600,000 for Sarasota County. The average cost per square foot was estimated at about $1,618 for New York County versus $333 for Sarasota County in May of this year. We can really see the big cost difference here. Real estate in most places in Florida will be much, much cheaper than in Manhattan and also the other boroughs in New York City. Rent is a similar story. Just like the rental prices have shot up in Florida, the same holds true in Manhattan. The monthly rent paid in April in Manhattan was approximately $3,870 according to a report from Douglas Ellisman, which is above the the average rent paid in Sarasota County, which hovered below $3,000. Now, the one place where rent may not be below Manhattan rental prices is Miami. Miami's rent has just exploded over the last few years, and it's one of the most expensive rental markets in all of the US. One can argue though, well, the cost of living in Manhattan is offset with higher salaries. And in some cases that may be true, but with remote work possibilities, many employees get to work from anywhere at the salary they were used to or close to anyways. I will also argue that for the majority of jobs, excluding Wall Street, the financial sector, the entertainment industry, even with a salary cut, moving to Florida will provide you with a better standard of living. Lastly is the weather and beaches. So New York City is fantastic in the spring, summer, and fall. There's just lots to do and lots of places to go to. But the winters are very cold with an average high of about 40 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit from December to March. And that's the high. If we look at the lows, it can easily get into the 20s and the teens. In the winters, you're pretty much living your life indoors, where in Florida you will have way more days throughout the entire year you get to enjoy your life outside. So New York City and other big northern cities cannot compete with the warm, sunny Florida winter weather. Absolutely not. Florida has also some of the most beautiful beaches in all of America. For example, Siesta Key by Sarasota has been voted as the #1 beach in all of the US several times throughout the years. If you're looking to live in a warmer climate, especially during the winter months, and you're looking for beach town living, then Florida is almost a no-brainer. So in essence, where we choose to live is all about what places have the most things to fulfill us. Thankfully, we live in a country where we have so many choices. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, please like this video. I would really appreciate it. And leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know which one do you prefer, big city living or small town beach living. Now, if you're looking for real estate in Sarasota County or Manatee County, I would love to team up with you, help you in your journey. Thank you so much for watching today and watching until the very end. I always appreciate it when you do. Take care.